Hey everyone, I'm Evangeline right here at eTrailer. Today, since every bike rack fits on every RV a little differently, we're going to be focusing in on the Yakima OnRamp LX and how it fits on our 2022 Dynamax Europa Motorhome. So this motorhome sits really high up, and if you want to carry around some bikes, well, good thing the Yakima OnRamp has a ramp included, and not just included, but also attached. So this is going to be really helpful. Plus, this is going to have a little bit more clearance compared to some of your other options, which is good. Because what I've noticed as a trend with this motorhome is that bike racks sit a little close to the back of the motorhome, and we've been having issues with our mountain bike handlebars. So let's start off there. My handlebar length on my bike is total of 28 inches long, so that's 14 inches from the center to the end. And you can see that it does make contact with our motorhome just a little bit, honestly. Like, there's a little bit of room there, but enough where I personally would tie a towel around those handlebars so we don't scratch and scuff things up when we are on the road. But I was able to get our bike up there, which is awesome. So how is the bike mounted to this motorhome or to the bike rack? You're going to have 3 touch points. You're going to have your front and then your rear wheel strap. By the way, these cradles slide out for your different wheelbases. And then you're going to have your frame mount. So the frame mount is definitely what makes it a little tricky to get those bikes into place, because this pushes the bike out and then secures it. Now you can carry 80-pound bikes on here. It is RV rated for 80 pounds, so that's really impressive. That's going to be on the higher end for bike weight capacity. So if you have heavy electric bikes, awesome. Now I do recommend in those cases, try to take your battery off if possible and keep that stored inside the motorhome so it's not outside exposed to the sun and the extra movement behind the rack. This rack can carry up to 2 80-pound bikes. Now when you want to take your bike off though, I start over at the straps. I just press that button and then I take that strap out and I just let that hang underneath the bike rack. So 1 and 2. And before we get to that middle frame mount strap, we're actually going to set up our ramp. So the ramp is secured to the bike rack. We have a knob here holding it in. We're going to remove that knob, which means we can then remove our ramp. And this is packed up together. So it's kind of like a puzzle piece where you have to fit the bolts in through the holes. So to extend this, you kind of unfold this and then bring it back. And then you use those knobs to tighten that back down. So it does take a little bit of time, but as you saw, not too long. What I like to do is I like to set up the ramp by the front wheel or by the side that has the pedals. That way the pedals don't hit the frame mount on the way down. So let's get that frame mount. We're going to press this button in order to loosen that strap. We're going to push out while supporting the bike with one hand. And then once that's released, I can kind of like slide that on through. It is a little bit of a tight fit. There we go. Swing that around, and now we can ramp the bike down. So hold on to your handlebars. This is gonna go down, down, and ramp. So still a pretty steep angle, but helpful for loading the bike up. Imagine if you had 80 pounds of bike on there, that's not really something that you want to hoist up and down all by yourself. The ramp is super helpful. Now you can see that they have little wheel chocks on those cradles. So the open tray design is helpful for ramping, but those chocks there just hold that wheel in. And you can also see how that ramp is secured, just giving you a full line all the way up. I like the ridges of the ramp too, where it holds the bike tires in, but it still gives a lot of room even for your wider tires. And the fact that we can store this on the rack is super helpful. This can be put on any side of the tray, whichever side makes the most sense for you and where your motorhome is parked and how you want to load your bikes up. So bringing this back in, we're just gonna put this back on so that's all nice and secure. Now, when you don't have your bike on here, you could just kind of pack things up. But here with our motorhome, we don't really have to worry so much about clearances. There's no ladders to work around, no gas spots to deal with, and all of that. So there's this lever here, pull that, and bring this mast down so it's a little bit more compact and neat, so that we can talk about measurements real quick. So if I was to measure from the wall of the motorhome to that center cradle line, that sits at around 14 inches. So you can see why our handlebars fit just perfectly there. They still made contact. Now from that wall, which we'll measure from over here, to the end of the rack, this sits at around 30 inches. So with your bike handlebars on there, that might go out to like 36 inches or 3 feet. Now with such a large motorhome, doesn't really make that much of a difference at the end of the day because you're already maneuvering something really large. My next measurement here is going to be ground clearance. So we have 25.5 inches here off the ground. Compare that to where our hitch is, which is around 20.5 inches there. So if you are looking for clearances and something that works well with your motorhome, this bike rack will do that. Now if you're looking for something that folds up and tilts away, this also does that, but you don't necessarily need those features here with this motorhome, since there is not really any access points that you need to get at. But if you were to put this bike rack on your car, well, you can totally check out our other vehicles and videos with those vehicles here on our website to see how that compares. But for a really good bike rack in terms of very heavy weight capacity, 80 pounds plus, can fit with your bikes, and hopefully this video showed how it does fit. Hopefully this video was helpful for that. If you have any questions at any point, please feel free to reach out. If you have a setup that works out well for you, maybe your bikes come close like mine do, but they are a sure fit, I'd love to see an example of that. That way other people can compare not just the measurements, but also see examples of real life experiences and real bikes, since bikes come in different shapes and sizes, and maybe you can inspire some other people along the way. But today what we saw was a look at the Yakima OnRamp LX and how it fits on the 2022 Dynamax Europa Motorhome.